Hello, I'm Dr. Terry Susan Fine, Content Specialist for the Florida Joint Center for Citizenship, which is part of the School of Politics, Security, and International Affairs at the University of Central Florida in Orlando. Welcome to our Middle School Civics Highlights series. Today we focus our attention on benchmark CG 4.2. Describe the United States and citizen participation in international organizations. In Part 1, we focus on what are the major international organizations in which government plays a role. We focus on benchmark clarification 1. Students will identify major international organizations in which government plays a role. We ask the question, what are the major international organizations in which government plays a role? And what is NATO, what is UN, the International Court of Justice, and the World Trade Organization? First, we're going to be looking at NATO. And the way that this document is organized, we see the name, we see the short form name, we see the symbol, and then we see the purpose. So the North Atlantic Treaty Organization is a group of 28 countries that have agreed to protect each other in case of attack. So this idea is that if one member of NATO is attacked by another country, that other member nations of NATO will come to that country's aid, the country that was attacked. And so this provides us not only a support method for the countries, but it also serves to discourage countries from attacking one another, because a country that wants to attack another country might understand that if that country that they're attacking is a member of NATO, then other countries are going to come to defense of that country, so their plan of attack might not work as they intend it to. NATO was formed to protect these 28 countries against the Soviet Union and its communist allies. It is a military and defense agreement among the governments of member nations. What about the United Nations? The United Nations is sometimes called the UN. The UN was formed in 1945 at the end of World War II. So after the end of this long and devastating World War, the United Nations was created in order to prevent what would be known as World War III. And one of the ways to do that is to create and keep peace around the world and develop friendly relationships among nations. There are 193 member nations that are members of the UN, that are members of the United Nations. The United Nations engages in peacekeeping, it engages in supporting human rights, it engages in itself in many different ways around the world, and the idea is that if these 193 nations can agree to work together, then they're less likely to attack one another and then to be the cause of another world war. What about the International Court of Justice? The International Court of Justice is sometimes called the World Court. The World Court gives legal advice to the United Nations and deals with international legal issues, such as disagreements about borders between countries. Countries may become members by meeting the requirements of the UN. Individuals may work or intern with the World Court. And so the World Court is really there as a justice mechanism for the United Nations. So consequently, the United Nations is going to be working with the World Court so that they can bring individuals who, cause crimes of humanity or crimes against humanity to justice. And so the World Court does provide a very important role in international relations. And then the final group that we're going to be looking at is the World Trade Organization. The World Trade Organization is also known as the WTO, and the World Trade Organization was created to promote trade and economic growth by lowering taxes and removing limits on some types of trade. Countries may join and make agreements about trade and taxes. So the World Trade Organization supports economic security around the world by promoting trade and economic growth, and also by lowering taxes and removing some limits on trade. So we do see this discussion of these various organizations, NATO, the United Nations, the World Court, and the World Trade Organization, all play a very important role in promoting and maintaining international peace and international relations. Thank you for joining me for Middle School Civics Highlights. Do you still have questions? If so, please contact us using the information that appears on the screen. Till next time, I'm Dr. Terry Susan Fine. Thank you for joining me.